Greetings. Thank you to everyone for coming out to our group author reading. This reading is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly virtual quick reads sessions. You can find out more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds in the handout we've provided in the chat and by visiting our website, strongwomenstrangeworlds.weebly.com. And I would also like to take a moment to thank those of you who have made a tip jar donation. Thank you. We appreciate you so much. Amanda Nevada DeMel, Joyce Chng, Karen Eisenbrey, Pauline Barmby, Glori Medina, and Kelsey Josephson. Our first reader is Amanda Nevada DeMel. Amanda Nevada DeMel is a speculative fiction author with an MFA in writing from the University of New Hampshire. Her favorite genre is horror, thanks to her father. She especially appreciates media that can simultaneously scare her and make her cry. Amanda also loves reptiles, musicals, and breakfast foods. Amanda, take it away.
All right. Hello. Thank you. I will just get started now. They put this mask on me for the sole purpose of humiliation. It's successful. The public maskings always disgusted me. The very idea that a grown woman with preferences and desires needs correcting makes my body tense. But never did I think I would be the one on display. After all, so many years had passed since the last one. Only rumors of that woman's depraved deeds remain, both in the town's memory and my own. The shame boiling within me is strong, so much stronger than even the rage I felt when I first learned of my punishment. The only good thing about this mask is that no one can see my reddened face. The face that they do see has been crudely painted onto the metal. It shows a feminine visage with plump scarlet lips spread wide into a jubilant smile. It is repulsive, brimming with the trapper's cheer. It is the first day of my punishment, and I already feel my resolve crumbling. I can't fathom spending a month behind this cold sheet of metal. The only time I look forward to is the evening, when they will so graciously allow me to eat supper and sleep without the mask, or so they say. Even then, I will be kept apart from my husband. They fear that I will harm him in some way, and he must be kept alive, of course. He can produce more children with more women, which our town will count on him to do. I would be expected to produce a baby every 9 months if I were to subject myself to that torture. A slave to the law is a worthy man. A woman of will is wicked. I always knew the nature of a woman's expected conduct, but I never imagined that my husband would enforce the decrees so strictly, especially not in our own home. Perhaps I should have held my tongue when they announced the new law. Perhaps I should have agreed with my husband that the 9-month edict was a brilliant idea. I could have lied, asserted excitement about having a horde of children at last. But I was fooled into a sense of ease by my husband's history. After all, a past knave must hold some disapproval of the law, I thought. It turned out that his court service had wiped away all ideas of freedom and compassion. Justice is a myth. I am disgusted that I once believed in it. I am even more disgusted that I married a servant of the courts. I was blind to the warning signs because of the tenderness he once showed me. I did not believe that I was worthy of love, and then he came into my life. Well, some love that turned out to be. He never hid his jealousy. In fact, I used to find it charming how much he wanted me for himself. Now, if I could, I would embrace a stranger. I would make a true display of obscene affection. Yet no one in town will approach me, let alone allow me to embrace them. My own mother looks at me with disdain. My thoughts stretch and flex and knot themselves as I toil throughout the day, hauling water from the river to the village. But what else can I do? I must do my penance, or I'll be cast out like that woman from so long ago. Even so, my mind rages, not to mention the scorching drought in my throat, the terrible need to moisten my lips, to take a meager sip of the water I bring to town. My husband has been warped by the company he keeps. The court and council, so holy and important, took him in and raised him up. Our lives seemed to improve as he climbed the ranks. We built a new, spacious house. We were never hungry or lonely, and even my mother graced us with smiles. Her smile could have been beautiful once, but I only saw it stained with selfishness. As for my husband, I should have seen the changes in him sooner. He stopped giving bread and water to the poor, the unskilled, the downtrodden people of our village. Soon enough, he stopped greeting them, and then he pretended not to hear their pleas and moans. What a fool I was, assuming that he was simply occupied with his court duties. He had been accepted by the privileged and had been living in their lifestyle. Why should he sacrifice those newfound luxuries? I can't stop my thoughts from storming, or my body from bringing water to the town from the stream. My thoughts temporarily fill with idyllic pictures of nighttime. Without the mask, I could breathe deeply. I could take large gulps of water. I could eat and sleep. However, those hopes fade and sour. I consider all the possibilities of the evening and see that even the best of them are dreadful. The respite from the mask will only be temporary. My meal will be spent in solitude. My rest will take place in a dank sepulchre of the church. The most vivid image, the vision that freezes my blood, is of my husband. Such a minion of the court, he must obey their edict. Eventually, he will be sent to come into my dreary chamber, fit in a wall of catacombs, adorned only with a cot and a chamber pot, and he will gladly fulfill his marital duty while I lie still, powerless, abhorrent. Imagining his hands on me, acting on a service that is expected of us, makes my lungs contract. The cold hand of icy malice wraps itself around my neck. When I wake, the process will start again. An officer will wake me, drag me to the town square, ceremoniously place the bridle on my head while the townsfolk take in the sight. Just like this morning, when I was first made an example of, the parents will tell their daughters, "That's why you must never disobey your husband." The daughters will see me as an embodiment of failure, a warning tale for their potentially rebellious tendencies. Such a display instilled fear in me for years. Although I do not recall the ceremony of the bridal for the previous pariah, I remember the lesson quite clearly. Where did that woman go? I suppose, as time goes on, that the memory of an outcast fades, ebbs, therefore requiring the flow of a new one. My protests against the 9-month edict have only strengthened over the months since its announcement, and though I had aired them only in confidentiality, I dare not give voice to them ever again. I can't bear the possibility of rearing a boy into this world, sowing ideas of superiority in his malleable mind. I can't merely stand at the edge of his vision as my husband instills his wisdom of the world. I can't support that wisdom with my silence. And then to pair him off with an innocent young girl, to watch him spawn his own children, to continue the cycle of inequity. Could I bring myself to love such a creature? Could I sleep at night, knowing I contribute so directly to the misery of the choiceless and voiceless? And raising a little girl, I cannot put to words the flames that this thought stokes. Tomorrow, with the bridle secured over my head and the bit in my mouth once again, I will walk to the stream, retrieve water, bring it to the town, and watch them all benefit from my labor. The townsfolk will do their washing, cook, drink, and gods know what else with the water. But I will partake in none of these privileges. At night, my husband will return to the little cot in the church to perform his duties. And in 9 months. If I stay here, I will surely commit worse deeds than I have already done. I don't care for the townsfolk, who mindlessly support anything the church spews at them. I don't care for my betraying husband, who informed the courts of my discontent. I don't care for my weak mother, who hardly raised me. I care only for myself, only for my liberty. That woman from long ago did the right thing, I'm sure, even if I don't know what her crime was. They will not escort me to the church tonight. My husband will not find me waiting. I must leave my birthplace, my history, my heritage. No one or thing is worth the cost of staying here. And that's where I'll stop for now. I am doing a giveaway of the anthology that this story is in, a few copies, so if you would like to get a copy of it for free, sign up for my email. Thank you.
That was phenomenal. That was so good. This is the thing. This is why my TBR gets so long. So, reminder, if you guys love that, you're going to probably love everybody else, but you got to sign up for the giveaway. You have to fill it out tonight. I'm going to link that right now. Sign up. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Sign up for all these giveaways and learn more about these amazing authors. All right. Our second author is Joyce Chng in Singapore. They have written urban fantasy books, space opera with werewolves, and YA fantasy. Likewise, they write kidlit with 2 picture books under their belts. Joyce, over to you.
All right, I think I'll start right now. The lessons of the moon. The sea of rains, waxing, waning, dark moon, present, full. Like rain that comes and drenched the desert of my being, watered the bare sands, caressed the skin, grow seeds. See your crises. Blame the fullness for the insanity that comes like the crack of lightning or the giggle of a child at the sight of buffoons, balloons, staying afloat at the sky, subject to the whim of the wind. See your tranquility. I hope to remain calm, consistent, sure as the tides, and violent at the rip currents that pull me apart, tear me inside out, outside in. Landing, hoping to land. That's all I want, all I desire, landing. I have been storm-tossed, thrown away, pulled apart. Terra firma, solid ground. Land now, just land. I'm staring out the window at the colors that sweep across the sky, the pinks and the oranges and the red and the rare streak of purple. They cover me, the patches on my chest, going up and down. I'm awash with colors, swimming in them. I'm alive. My ivy drip feeds me, giving me the salt and glucose. My mouth craves the feel and texture of food. Oranges, apples, a fat, juicy, medium rare stick, so rare, so red, that the blood blends with the caramelized onion sauce. Glasses of wine, water, fruit smoothies, quivering red jellies gleaming like pure ruby, tasting of fine plum and grape liquor. Food, God is food. Hard to eat when your taste buds hate you and your intestines reject food straight away. They're saying that I'm changing, like the moon. I'm so low in energy now, the dark moon, that I can only lie on my bed and stare at the colors. Sometimes I'm in my waxing phase, energy coming back, and when I'm full, I can do so many things. I write, I dance, I cook, I move. My garden of green and red chili, of rosemary and mint. Then I crashed, and I'm back to square one. My limbs feel like weights. My joints ache and my pain synapses are on fire. I'm brought back to earth. I'm changing into what form? I'm not sure. I'm not changing into Phoenix for sure. The thing running in me isn't some mythical bird due for rebirth. The thing inside me is some insidious beast, sometimes tame, sometimes vicious. All I can do is to chain it down. Now I'm earthbound. They want me in a pod so that I can live further and enjoy more years. I'm not sure I want to fly a pod and fight bad aliens in space, where physics still works and there's no sound. If my body fails, the surgeon tries to reassure me, be patient. This disease needs patience. I will have a new body and I will be a warrior, a good cause. I'm fighting for something noble. Am I? How many warriors are there out fighting? Are they stationed next to the moon? Can I be the moon instead? I want to be the moon. When I die, eventually, I want to be buried in the sea of tranquility, or have my ashes scattered. Pots get destroyed at the end. I do not think pot warriors retire. I want to be scattered like stars, turned into diamonds, better than just being destroyed in a burst of mangled steel and voiceless pain. My little girl visits me during visiting hours. She has just turned 5, but somehow she knows that what I'm going through. She looks at me with huge dark eyes. I don't know how I look like. I don't want to know. I refuse having a mirror in the room. The nurses laugh and say I look beautiful. I think they're just pulling my leg and lying through their immaculate teeth. The kind of polite laughter able-bodied and healthy people use, the tone they take with me. Hang on in there, you'll be fine, you should pull up your bootstraps. Nonsense, nonsense, more nonsense. Where are you when I'm in pain? Where are you when I need help? My little girl is unafraid, daring. She's always like that. She will pick the coat button daisies growing outside our house and braid them into tiny bracelets. Coat button daisies have smiley faces and grow wild everywhere. Endemic. Pest. Resilient. I think they're more resilient than me. I love them. When I sleep, the bracelets are beside me. The sap and sweetness in my nose. When I wake, the nurses have removed them away. Thrown them into the bin. For fear of contamination, they explain. This is a germ-free environment. There will always be new bracelets. They remind me that I'm resilient. I hang on. I'm hanging on. Remember the dandelions? My little girl would whisper next to my ear. Remember the dandelions, will you please? There are no dandelions in space. I remember them. They're not really dandelions, but they have similar glow balls. I used to pick her up after daycare, plucking the flowers and blowing at the cotton-like puff. She loves the seeds floating in the air. I told her about the peppers that act like parachutes, drifting in the wind. She loves these memories. Yes, I replied, and my voice rattles in my lungs. My pain synapses snap and bite. My body is rebelling against me. We'll be in a pod, she would say later. You'll be like the peppers, you fly away. I missed you. Yes, I say, and I think about the moon. Always the moon. Waxing, waning, dark moon, crescent full. Like rain that comes and drenched the desert of my being. Water. The bare sands caress the skin. Rose seeds. The pot is big, like a silver egg with wings and turrets built in. A mobile missile, piloted and inhabited by a brain. My brain, someone else's brains, brains without bodies, a mess of synapses and nerves stuck in a machine. I see the pot in images they showed me, just to convince me how fabulous it is. I'm on a noble mission, to fight for the earth in an egg, to fight for humanity against big bad aliens who want to conquer us and our planet, to fight for our family. I want my ashes scattered in the sea of tranquility. I state calmly to the attending surgeon. I want my dust to mingle with the moon dust. Smiling, he scribbled something down on his writing pad. How quaint. He wants to humor me. We fly through space to fight aliens and he's writing on paper? Like me, some parts of him have not changed. We remain changed and unchanged, like the moon. Some people are afraid of change. I'm changing. I should not be afraid of change. So
All right, Joyce, I'm so sorry. I've got to cut you off there.
Okay, sorry. More further in this book.
Yes, so now everybody, now you know. If you want to know more about it, you've got to get The Lessons of the Moon by Joyce Chng. Thank you. Our third author is going to be Karen Eisenbrey. Karen Eisenbrey lives in Seattle, Washington. Karen writes fantasy and science fiction novels, as well as short fiction and the occasional poem. or song if it insists. Karen?
Thank you. I am reading from chapter 21 of A Quest for Hidden Things, when the main characters have just met. Crane is seeking the wizard who cursed his village. A few days into his quest, he is injured and running low on food. He stumbles into an inn and meets Ketty, who has secrets of her own. Ketty showed him into a slant-ceilinged chamber furnished with a bed, a chair, and a washstand with a pitcher and basin. Firewood lay ready in a small iron stove. "What do I owe you?" He took out his money bag. "The room is 2 dulls a night, but for 3, you get the room and 3 meals. We'll settle up before you leave." She turned down the bed covers and rubbed her arms. "I expect you'll want a fire." "You don't need to bother." He pointed his staff at the stove and whispered the fire spell. In his fatigued state, even this small use of magic left him dizzy, but a cheerful blaze sprang up. Ketty moved toward the door. "Will there be anything else, sir?" Her voice came out a choked whisper. "No, Crane broke off at the sight of her pale face and startled eyes. "Are you all right?" She pointed at the crackling fire. "Was that for my benefit?" "No." "Yes. I don't know. It's a little something I can do. I'm sorry I frightened you." He offered a weak smile. "You didn't frighten me, but don't let my father see you do that." "That's fair. He has a problem with magic?" "He doesn't think much of wizards." "Neither do I." "It's not funny. I could ask you to leave at once." "Please don't. I promise. I won't do anything suspicious. I just need to rest." "And to wash." She lifted the pitcher from the washstand and moved toward the door. He sank down onto the chair and pulled off his boots, wincing as he released his injured ankle. "If it's not too much trouble, could I get warm water to soak my feet? I've never walked this far before, and there—" He paused, reluctant to sound like he was complaining. Ketty didn't seem the pitying type, and she was angry already. "A little sore." He gasped in pain as he pulled off stockings stuck to blisters and stiff with blood. His swollen right ankle had turned a livid purple. "A little sore? I'm surprised you can walk at all. If you're traveling on foot, you'll be stuck here a while." "Sorry," he offered a weak smile of apology. "Some wizard." Ketty limped out of the room as if her own feet ached. She came back with the full pitcher and a steaming kettle. She set the basin on the floor at his feet and poured in cold water from the pitcher, then added hot water from the kettle. Crane lowered his raw and aching feet into the soothing water. "This is magic enough for me right now." He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. Ketty was silent so long, he thought she'd left. "Are you looking for someone, or are you running from something?" Startled, Crane opened his eyes and met her gaze. "Both. There's a curse." "There's no curse on you." She looked flustered. "Is there?" "I wish I could be so certain. But no, it's not on me. It's back there. And he's up there somewhere." He gestured weakly, then dropped his hands into his lap. "And I can't go another step." "So you're running from it." Her thoughts shouted, "Coward." "I'm seeking the remedy," he said. "I don't know what to do, but I might know where to find out. I'm the only one from Deep River who can do it." He paused. "Maybe I'm the only one who cares." Ketty stared as if trying to peer through his skull. She moved her gaze to his feet soaking in the basin. "Give me your foot." "Why?" He raised his left foot out of the water. If you can show off, so can I. She held his foot in one hand and pressed the palm of the other against the sole. She closed her eyes, her brow furrowed in concentration. The blisters stung under the pressure. After a moment, a pleasant tingling replaced the sting. Keddy lifted his right foot from the water and scrutinized the swollen ankle. That looks painful. How long have you been walking on it? Since yesterday afternoon. You're tougher than you look. She gave him a hint of a smile. She stroked his ankle gently, then pressed her palm to the sole as she had with the other foot. There, that should feel better. She sat back and looked up at him, her face relaxed now. Wisps of copper hair stuck to her damp forehead. Sorry I can't do anything for your hand. My hand? Crane glanced at his scarred right hand. He tried not to flaunt it in public. What about it? Keddy bit her lip. I'm sensitive to trauma, and to magic, I guess. Your scar gives off a whiff of both. How'd you get it? Oh, you know, the usual. Set myself on fire. First magic I ever tried. She stifled a giggle, which pleased him more than he cared to admit. After 5 years, he could see the humor and much preferred laughter to fear or pity. Anyway, it's not like it hurts anymore. Much better to numb these blisters. I should be able to sleep now. Crane examined one foot, then the other. He stared at Keddy in shock. She hadn't only relieved the pain. Both feet were healed. Not a blister, not a bruise remained. He rotated his ankle without the least twinge. How did you do that? He whispered. How did you do that? She nodded toward the fire. I only wish I could take care of your socks as easily. I'm not joking, Keddy. You have an amazing gift. You didn't even say any words. Who taught you? Do you have a mentor? No one taught me. You did that with no training? Isn't there someone you could study with, a healer or something? Imagine what you could... Keep your voice down, she interrupted. My father would never let me. I've never even talked to him about it. I know what he would say. And I will stop there. I'm giving away 2 ebook copies of A Quest for Hidden Things.
The healing magic and the laundry magic. So if you uncover the secrets, share it with us, huh? It was fantastic. Our 4th reader is Pauline Barmby. Pauline Barmby is an astrophysicist who believes that you can't have too many in London, Canada, and hopes to someday visit her namesake main belt asteroid, minor planet 281067. And I probably should have figured out what that would be as one number. Has appeared in Utopia Science Fiction, Analog, and Year's Best Canadian Fantasy and Science Fiction. Pauline, whenever you want.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. N-body code. The black hole stole my stellar sibling. We tried shedding angular momentum to harden our orbit, but it was hopeless. The central monster's grip was too strong. Teal 346 was pulled into a dizzying parabola around the event horizon while I soared out of the galaxy at hypervelocity. Our planetary systems had been stripped in an earlier paragalacticon passage. We were already bereft of our worlds. The gravitational bond sundered by the black hole was our last remaining comfort. We could only blink furiously at one another as we separated. Cerulean 323, I'll remember you always. Shine bright against the darkness, my dear. Teal 346's light was soon lost in the smooth glare of the galactic bulge. I sped into the night, facing a solitary life with a supernova ending. Although my sibling's absence tore at my radiative zone, there was some relief in the peace and calm of the galaxy's halo. Freed from the dusty veil that surrounded the central maelstrom, I could revel in the unimpeded view of the spiral's lazily rotating curves. From this vantage point, the galaxy changed only slowly, a nova here, a Cepheid nattering to itself there. The scenery's novelty soon faded, and the ache of loneliness returned. I shifted my perception outward to find a star cluster directly in my path. The collection of ancient stars shone bluer than I would have expected. Oh, of course, my tremendous velocity. Would I hurtle through their tight-knit community and leave destruction in my wake? What a terrible legacy, a further consequence of the black hole's cruelty. Might my impact parameter be far enough to miss the cluster, yet near enough to permit one last conversation before I disappeared into the void? A singleton red dwarf at the cluster's edge sparkled in my direction. Blue star, my name is Scarlet 689. Can you see me? Warmth rose through my photosphere. I see you. I am Cerulean 323. What's a young upper main sequence star doing in the galactic halo? Why are you fleeing at such a speed? The black hole, I flashed. It separated me from my sibling and flung me outward. I tried and failed to keep the sadness and longing out of my non-radial pulsations. My orbit is hyperbolic. I'll die in intergalactic space. My supernova remnant will cool and disperse with no hope of my atom's rebirth in new stars. Oh, that's so sad, the red star replied. I remember my first unbinding, exiled almost to the tidal radius. I was so lonely, out in the dark and the cold, not knowing if my orbit would carry me back to the light and warmth of the core. Decades passed. My orbit carried me toward the cluster while Scarlet 689 shone steadily. Then it lit up in a sudden flare. Maybe you could join us. Keep shining. I'll ask my companions. Before I could reply, the red star's attention turned coreward. Hints of the cluster members' conversations flickered within their combined incandescence, light echoes from the tenuous intracluster gas amplifying the vigorous debate. Cerulean 323 is unbound from its partner and headed into intergalactic space. It's so lonely, Scarlet 689 flashed. We have to try to help. A lower main sequence star blinked a grating sawtooth light curve. A high-mass star like that, well, its message garbled. We don't need another blue straggler type. Hey, we didn't ask to be like this, a blue straggler pulsed through its mottled surface, and the runaway didn't ask to be ejected. I say we take it in. A haughty first ascent red giant shimmered. It won't fit in here. A star with that luminosity should be red, not blue. And how could it join us? There's no way to produce such a velocity change. Oh, but there is, the stellar member of a bright X-ray binary chirped. Its next words were lost in a Doppler haze. Its contribution finished with, it will be so wonderful to have someone new join us. That would be dangerous, the red giant pulsed erratically. I don't want to lose my partner to some random stranger. The discussion continued in blinks and flashes, asymmetric light curves, and astroseismic pulsations. Finally, the light signals ceased. The cluster members had made their decision. Scarlet 689 turned its perception toward me, blinking frantically. Cerulean 323, if you can adjust your transverse velocity, you'll head right for us, it said. When you mingle with as many of us as possible, the gravitational interactions will slow you down. Scarlet 689 explained the plan in a reassuring regular light curve. You will take me in? I flashed back. I fought to contain my joy. As my core rotation increased, my atmospheric rotation slowed to conserve angular momentum, and a little of my matter decreted into an equatorial circumstellar disk. There's some risk, Scarlet 689 replied. If the incidence angles and impact parameters aren't right, your orbit could be further deflected. Or you could unbind some of us. They were willing to take that risk for me, so I could have company again? I'm so grateful for your kindness, I said. I will do exactly as you say. We're glad to have you. No star should be so lonely, the red dwarf replied. I first encountered a subgiant who twirled me into a do-si-do. Our chromospheres flared with laughter. The subgiant nearly went nova in its dizziness, and I sailed on toward my next interaction. I swerved around the blue straggler who flared with delight. I careened through the cluster core, somehow missing the many tightly bound systems who twinkled their encouragement. After several anxious centuries, I re-emerged on the other side of the cluster, near Scarlet 689. First approaching the X-ray binary, I wobbled through a hyperbola and extracted angular momentum as the neutron star and its companion tightened their orbit. I sped towards Scarlet 689, but I was still traveling well beyond escape velocity. The plan had failed. The red star flashed frantically. This way, toward me! I blinked back. Are you sure? That was not part of your plan. Trust me. With an asymmetric flare, I altered my trajectory to approach Scarlet 689. We swung wildly around each other. At the point of closest approach, my trajectory wobbled and my tachocline shivered in a moment of panic. What if the encounter unbound it from the cluster? What a terrible way to repay such kindness. I heated my circumstellar disk to increase its friction, ensuring that Scarlet 689's energy gain would be minimal. We separated. Behind me, Scarlet 689 was falling back toward the cluster, and I pulsed with relief. For a brief, joyful moment, I let myself believe that the encounter had removed enough of my energy. Estimating our relative velocities against the cluster's glare was difficult, but I could feel myself slowing down, too, couldn't I? No. Scarlet 689's red-shifted absorption lines told the tale. Despite their best efforts, the cluster stars had been unable to gather me in their gravitational embrace. Kill years passed as my outward journey continued. I couldn't see my would-be rescuer. Scarlet 689's orbit must have returned it to the cluster core. I flashed my thanks toward the cluster's yellow glow and sailed on alone. My memories of the community's stellar kindness would warm my core through the long night. The end.
I am not even kidding. I'm over here getting emotional about your stars. That was so well written, but so it tugs at you. Well, I mean, I guess we should all sign up for the giveaway, learn more about your book, and pick it up and see if maybe there's some happiness somewhere else. We'll have to see. All right. That was fantastic. Thank you. Our fifth reader is Glori Medina. Glori is a member of the Science Fiction Writers of America, Washington Romance Writers. Glori, whenever you're ready.
Hello, folks. Thanks for being here. I will start right away. She followed everyone into the conference room, took a sip of hot coffee, and sat on the first open seat. Ramiro stood at the podium and was addressing the group when Cooper rushed in. "So good of you to join us, Chief Hadley." The sip of coffee she'd hoped to savor scalded the roof of her mouth and burned all the way down her esophagus after she swallowed the shock of him bursting into their meeting. Why was he here? The sec chief must have more important things to address than tunnel care? "Apologies. Hope I have not held up the briefing." "Minus 10 points for Team Hadley," joked Ramiro. Y kept her eyes fixed on Ramiro, the air swooshing when Cooper took the empty chair next to her. Her face remained blank, and she ignored Cooper's presence. "As I was just about to say, Y is coming with us on this one. She's had an academy training and her tech skills will come in handy." There was no way Ramiro thought she had any technical skills that would help on these inspections. Operating the book pig was the extent of her recent work with any technology, though she had been good at programming back at the academy. Had he forgotten she was a drone with limited... Rootin' hells! What else had he loaded in that memory crystal she took? In the blink of an eye, she could see in her mind the whole schematics for the kingdom's power stations. She paged through hundreds of them. On her next blink, her coding skills got an upgrade, and she covered her mouth to hide her grin, as the excitement of being out in the tunnels grew on her. "We need everyone on these inspections, so we can get through them as quickly as possible, as Remembrance is only 4 weeks away." "But what about those other projects you've assigned me? Those aren't finished yet." She worried about the room full of certain death. "That will have to wait for later. I've assigned you to the chief. He's short of tech." Her pulse accelerated and her shoulders stiffened. She looked down at her hands. Why couldn't her fingers transfer her rising panic to the cup she held? Wouldn't one of the more experienced whole members make more sense? "Botero, finish up that coffee and maybe get a second cup," said Ramiro. with a wink before he continued his briefing. What had she done to deserve being stuck with Cooper? She sat in her chair listening to the rest of the briefing and sulking about having to work with the man she needed to avoid. Ramiro was her boss, but she considered asking him to reassign her. She feared working with Cooper, being that she was a drone and he was sec chief. The dreaded room full of forbidden materials weighed on her thoughts as well. Like a blinking sign had been hung around her neck, proclaiming, "I'm a guilty drone, Mr. Sec Chief." The thought of being stuck days on end in Cooper's company made her intensely uncomfortable. Sweet caves, she'd have to make polite conversation, which made her shudder. No, she couldn't imagine that happening at all. These circumstances all pointed to why Botero, please pick up the recycling courtesy holocom. After the briefing and the task assignments were finished, Ramiro pulled her aside as everyone else filed out of the conference room. I know I asked you to take care of that other thing, but once again, priorities have shifted. Why are you picking me for this? I'm not trained to be out there in the tunnels. He held her gaze and spoke to her in a low, urgent tone. I want you to keep an eye on the sec chief. You have history together. She recoiled from the truth in his words. Not the best one. But he will be more willing to trust you because of it. No. She retreated farther away from Ramiro, not believing that he was forcing her to spy. Again. Just like he'd promised he wouldn't do. He put a firm hand on her shoulder and drew her back in, a hardness in his eyes she'd never witnessed before. Get over yourself. It's not like you have to marry and raise construct babies with him. Just be friendly. Helpful in this investigation of his, but not too much. I need to know what he's up to. This is not all about the outsiders. He's here to find the protectors, and we can't let him do that. She swallowed hard. The recycler looked like her only option. And that's the end. So thank you all for being here this evening. Please don't forget to sign up for my giveaway. I'm giving away one copy of the ebook of Memory Lost and Love Bound to the Sea, which is a paranormal romance novelette, to one winner. And thank you all so much for being here this evening and being part of this supportive community. Have a great night.
Thank you. I love how, even though this was my first interaction with these characters, you know, as you're giving the lines, I'm like rolling my eyes. Like, of course he's asking her to spy again. Ugh, it was fantastic. All right, everyone, and we have one reader left. Kelsey Josephson is a Midwestern author of strange, steampunk, and reinvented fairy tales. She is a member of SWSW and Ally. For Universal Monsters movies, all things related to Nikola Tesla and iced coffee. Same. Her work includes Strange Happenings and Forsaken Beauty and the Ether Beast. Kelsey, whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm going to start right away, and there is a giveaway for this one. The circus saloon billed their strong woman as Belle to mock her. Her dull charcoal hair matched the soot-filled sky of Aetherborn, the miserable mining town that she was born in. She called it home but long before she was bought for a meager sack of silver coins. No one would call her a beauty. Blue veins snaked beneath her almost translucent skin. She towered over the tallest patron at every show. Audiences whispered that there had to be something wild and unnatural in her blood to give her such height and strength. The truth was far more simple. Belle wasn't the first child born with ether-poisoned deformities, but hers were the most striking. The ether that fueled airships and powered cities was mined from the volatile ore deep within Nuzerin's caves. Both of Belle's parents had labored in the mine since they were old enough to operate the tools. By 6 years old, she was already working alongside her father when her mother succumbed to the airborne poisoning. On the day her mother was buried, Belle's grief and rage culminated in her first and last childhood tantrum. She gathered a loaded minecart barehanded and derailed it, smashing the cart into the ore body and terrifying the other workers. Whispers of the child's uncanny strength spread far and wide from Aetherborn. When the ringmaster of the Circus Illume heard about the young girl of massive stature and supernatural power, he showed up at their crooked shack with coins and false promises. Belle tried not to hate her father for putting his trust in the showman. He had looked so desperate and frail. It'll be better than the mines. Her father hugged Belle goodbye, the money still clutched in his hands. It'd been 10 years since she'd seen him. Belle wondered if the poison had taken him too. In the distance, the ringmaster barked out orders to his crew as they set up portable heaters for the circus's caravan, bringing Belle out of her morose recollections. The Circus Illume should have been on the road heading south, but winter had come early. A hurricane had ravaged the next city they were due to perform in. If Minport flooded, the circus's light show and steam-powered props couldn't go on. The ringmaster decided to set up camp halfway to Minport until the storm blew over. Belle's shabby trailer was parked at the edge of the forest. Further into the clearing, other performers laughed around their fires. The copper ankle bracelet, a constant reminder of her status, would send a nasty shock through Belle's body if she strayed too far, but she should be safe to travel within eyesight of her trailer in any direction, so she settled in a secluded, picturesque spot where the birch trees gave her enough privacy that she could pretend she was alone. A fallen log served as her bench. Belle admired the falling snow as she sipped her hot-muled cider by her cozy fire, courtesy of the meager supply she was allowed to keep. Tensions melted as her belly warmed. But her good mood vanished when she heard twigs snapping. Belle stood, peering into the woods. Low, rumbling growls followed by more snapping twigs, closer this time. A bear, its hazy silhouette visible through the smoke, emerged from the thicket behind her campfire. As she debated whether or not she could reach a weapon without triggering her shock anklet, the creature stood on its hind legs. Transfixed, Belle immediately realized it was not a bear. The beast stalked closer. Delicate but deadly antlers crowned his head. His lean body was covered in silver fur, with speckles of black reminiscent of the birch tree's patterned bark behind him. His paws ended in long, wicked claws that reached towards her. There was a hungry gleam in his owlish yellow eyes. Belle thought she also saw pain and loneliness, but wondered if it was a trick of the light or her own foolish hope. She reached into her pouch for jerky and held out several pieces for her uninvited guest. Perhaps the beast would take it and leave, or devour her whole. Belle supposed she should have cared more about the latter. Go on, you can have some. She waited while he considered her offering. Then the beast snatched the jerky and fled into the night, leaving Belle relieved and oddly bereft. Her cider had grown cold, but she finished it before turning in for the night. Dawn revealed another blanket of snow that had fallen on the caravan. The ringmaster put Belle to work chopping more firewood for the camp. She didn't breathe a word about her visitor, not wanting to be responsible for another unwilling act to join the show. But still, she scanned the trees as she finished her task. The day was disappointingly mundane. As the sun set, Belle's muscles burned. She considered either going straight to bed or burning precious fuel in her lantern to read a book from the secret stash hidden under her cot. But instead, she felt compelled to stay by the fire a little longer, sipping cider again. When the moon was high, a familiar rustling sounded in the thicket. The beast approached, slowly approaching as if he were trying not to spook her. When he was by Belle's side, he held out his paws, a plump apple in each. Belle's sparse brows rose. Fresh apples in winter? Where on earth did you find them? The beast opened his mouth, speaking in a low, indecipherable growl. Shaking his head, he shrugged. Thank you. She patted his paw. He nudged her to eat, pushing one of the apples closer. As Belle took the apple, distant raucous laughter reminded her that they weren't alone. If you keep coming here, they'll catch you, she warned, pointing to her chafing ankle bracelet. The beast huffed as he bit into his apple. After wiping the last bits of juice off his snout, he stalked into the woods without glancing back at her. Belle was morose the next day. In the circus, she had no true allies. She had forgotten what it was like to have someone who wanted to see her for herself, not a performance. Though she knew sending the beast away was for the best, she had not felt so alone in a long time. So even though she knew better, Belle once more waited by the campfire as night came, the wind failing to bite through the thick wool cloak she'd bundled up in. Laying out extra jerky and cider in a second steaming mug, she hoped she wasn't making a horrible mistake. When the moon was high, the beast emerged once again, his silver fur tangled and covered in burrs. He clutched a single white rose beneath his claws, ducking his head at her puzzled scrutiny. Are you hurt? Belle asked, gently touching the scratches on his forearm. The beast nodded once as he handed her the flower. Thank you. Let me help you. She coaxed him to sit by her, and she tucked the rose behind her ear as he patted closer. The beast was tense, perching on the log bench. After murmuring reassurances, she plucked burrs and detangled his fur with her fingers. As she delicately separated a matted section, Belle bit back a gasp when she noticed patchwork of smooth skin and scars running the length of his forearm that suspiciously resembled stitches healed up long ago. Who did this to you? The beast gave her a despondent shrug. I'm sorry. The beast growled, but there was no menace to it. He huffed, wrinkling his snout in disgust. To distract him, Belle talked about life in the circus. When he seemed agitated by her story, she switched to describing the fantastical places the caravan toured. As she spoke, the comfortable heat radiating from the fire and the beast's rapt attention lulled her into a dreamlike state. She told him about the time the electric fence malfunctioned and she had escaped, choosing to spend the day marveling at an orrery in the capital city of the Onyx Mark. The model sun was twice her height. Watching the hypnotic orbit of the surrounding planets had been the most enchanting experience of her life. When she'd been discovered, her heart had shattered, but the memory sustained her on her worst days. Find a friend? The familiar mocking voice startled Belle into the present. The ringmaster brandished shock sticks as he stood across from the fire, flanked by two cronies. Run, Belle choked out. Hackles raised, the beast roared at the men, displaying crooked canine teeth. Run! Belle repeated, adrenaline thrumming through her as she swung her fist at the ringmaster. It was too late. Shock sticks crackled as it connected with Belle's torso, burning her skin. She twitched as she collapsed, gasping. The beast fell next, hitting the ground with a thud. What a fine addition you'll make once I've broken you, the ringmaster said, his lips curling. In a guttural rasp, the beast uttered a single word to Belle. Help. And that's where I'm going to end that.
Of course, right at the culmination when we're all at the edge of our seat, you're like, oh, and by the way, we're done. Go buy my book. I will. Don't worry. It's fine. That was amazing. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much to everyone who came today.